Hi everybody, it's Lizzie here. So the lovely people at Simply Wigs have asked me to do some Q&A for you as part of Alopecia Awareness Month. So I've got a little set of question cards here. Let's see what they have to say. So, question 1. What would you say to somebody who's just been diagnosed with alopecia? That's a really good one because it's difficult, isn't it? Most of us don't know what to say. As someone who's had alopecia since she was 6, I suppose the things I would say are along the lines of, it won't be as bad as you think it is. This probably feels like an absolutely awful thing to happen right now, particularly if your hair's an important part of your self-esteem and your looks are an important part of your self-esteem. But what you'll discover is that there's so much more to what people like and admire and respect and enjoy about you than your hair. You'll find it's actually a much smaller part of things than you ever believed. And if you're uncomfortable with going out with patchy hair or receding hairline or no hair, depending on how your alopecia's developed, there are so many great wigs. And at first, again, it will feel like one of those things you don't want to do, or I don't want to wear a wig, everybody will know. But there's so many brilliant ones and you can have so much fun that once you get over the initial upset, you'll find that there are some things you can really enjoy about wearing wigs and just playing with how you look. Question number 2. Do you talk to your friends about your alopecia? Yes and no. It's not a big topic of conversation for me. It's, I would like to think that having alopecia is the least interesting thing about me. And it's not something that tends to come up with friends I've known a while. It's something that I tend to mention with new friends just when the topic of hair comes up in conversation, or if somebody pays me a compliment on how my hair looks, say, oh, actually, I get mine out of a box and I just plonk it on my head and I haven't got to mess about with hair dryers and tools and that sort of thing. And there's always a really sort of positive reaction to that. And then it tends to go away as a topic, to be honest. When I was younger, people tended to be more curious about how I'd come to lose my hair. The question most people are too nervous to ask is, was it because you had cancer? So I normally try to make sure they're not going to feel that discomfort up front by saying, oh yeah, I've had alopecia since I was 6 and my hair's a wig and I draw on my eyebrows and I stick on my eyelashes. And there's usually a brief conversation then. But as I say, with longer term friends, it's not something really that comes up very often, other than when I've got a lovely new wig and they go, oh, I like the new one, that's nice. Apart from that, it doesn't really come up very much. Question 3. Are there any upsides to having alopecia? Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, there are so many upsides. So I can make my friends really jealous if I tell them the upsides. So I don't have to spend hours sitting at the hairdresser having my roots done. I don't have to spend hours sitting at the hairdresser worrying about whether the stylist is going to get it right this time. Will it look as good as the last time I had this cut done or not? So, God, I hate hairdressers. No offense to hairdressers, but when I used to have to go to them, I really didn't enjoy it. So it is fantastic that I don't have to go to hairdressers. I can change my style. And if I don't like it, I can just swap back again. So I can order some wigs, try them on, a style that I think is lovely and I'd really like. If it doesn't suit me, okay, nothing lost. Return it, try something different. So for me, it takes away the jeopardy and the nervousness about changing style or changing colour, because I know I'm not committed to it for the next however long. I can take it really short if I want, and if I find I hate it, it doesn't matter. I can go back to this, I can go long, I can do what I like. Other upsides, because I've got alopecia totalis or universalis, I can never remember which is which, but anyway, I haven't got body hair either. I don't have to shave my legs. It's brilliant. I don't have to shave my armpits, I don't have to shave my legs. And my friends who do have to, they not only envy the time saved, they also envy the fact that it means my skin's quite smooth. I don't have the horrible shaving rash or the little bumps when leg hair's regrowing if you've waxed and that sort of thing. So that's another big upside for me, I think. What else? I like the fact that if I feel like it, I can have different hairstyles on different days or for different occasions. So sometimes, for example, when we go out for dinner on a Friday, I'll wear a slightly longer wig, maybe have it up, just depending on how I feel. And similarly, you know, if I'm going on holiday, I could choose a style that's a bit more lightweight, so there's more airflow and it keeps my head cooler. So I really like that flexibility. So yeah, for me, there are tons of upsides, to the point that if my hair did decide to grow back now, all these years later, honestly, I'd probably shave it off and carry on wearing wigs because it's so much easier and so much more fun. What do you find the most difficult about having alopecia? Getting too hot. I think I don't know, maybe this is a bit gross. Maybe I have too many sweat glands on my head or something. I don't know. But I tend to get hot quite easily. And so in the summer, the fact I'm wearing a wig makes that worse because, you know, this is man-made fibre, the one I'm wearing now, and it's quite dense as well. There's quite a lot of fibre in it. So I sort of say to my bald male friends, imagine you're wearing a polyester beanie hat in this sunny weather and have some sympathy, boys. So I think for me that's probably the downside, that I do get quite hot, and you know, sometimes I can take my wig off and cool down, sometimes I can't. On the upside, of course, it's dead easy to cool down. Go into the bathroom, take my wig off, cold wet flannel on my head, and you cool down really quickly because the evaporation of the cold water helps you cool faster and you haven't had to get your hair wet. So there are pros and cons. Any other downsides? I suppose I used to like going trampolining when I was a kid. Realistically, at 43 and carrying a few extra pounds, probably trampolining wouldn't be a great idea now anyway. But that is something that I probably wouldn't go back to because of wearing a wig. And it's not that I couldn't do it. I could put some, you can sew in silicone strips to your wig, and then you can use those to apply double-sided tape. So you absolutely could do trampolining. I've done martial arts in the past wearing a wig. You can do any sport you want. You just need to spend a bit of time sewing in the silicone strips. You can cut it to size and then messing about with tape. I always found that hotness and sweatiness I was talking about earlier obviously is exacerbated a bit by exercise. So I've tended, I suppose, to avoid the things where I'm going to get really, really hot. So maybe trampolining was a bad example. Maybe I could just say it gets me out of doing things I don't like running. Okay, next question. How do you think children who have alopecia can be supported? So what worked really well for me, I felt incredibly well supported. I was only 6 when I lost my hair to alopecia. And my parents were absolutely brilliant because they, how would I describe, they acknowledged it. They didn't let it be a big deal. They didn't make me see if they were upset by me losing my hair. I never saw my mum upset by it. And they never let me use it as an excuse for anything. They never let me do the, oh, poor me, I've got no hair, so therefore I should get a free pass on whatever I've done wrong or not tried with. So they didn't make it. It comes back to not making it the most important thing about me. It was treated as a minor thing. You know, if I was ever upset in any way about it, you know, I could always talk to them. It wasn't that they ignored any feelings I had about it, but they didn't let it be magnified and turned into a big deal. I think if a child is being picked on or bullied because of alopecia, and so, you know, someone did try that with me once, me being me, I retaliated in an appropriate fashion and they never tried it again, but that's just me. I think if a child is being bullied or picked on because of alopecia, then I think, you know, reminding them that unfortunately that's one of those horrible things that happens to a lot of people, and okay, for them it's because their hair makes them look a little bit different, but other children get bullied for wearing glasses or whatever it may be, and that it's never right and it's never acceptable, but that they shouldn't allow that to make them focus on their alopecia as being something bad and wrong about them. It's just a small part of who they are, and to talk about the positives that come with it. You know, as we talked about in the earlier questions. I think the other thing is that, you know, a child needs to know someone's got their back. Someone understands how they feel and cares about how they feel, and if things are really problematic, that somebody will go into bat on their side. But again, I would really caution against overdoing it and making the child feel that this is a massive big deal and the most obvious thing about them and that sort of thing. It just needs to be, it's about resilience. It's about helping them learn to take it in their stride in the way they would take it in their stride if they, I don't know, fall over when they're running a race at sports day. So just helping them to develop that resilience. Because I suppose I would say, looking back, the way my parents handled my alopecia and the way they took that approach of, okay, you know, that's not a great thing, but, you know, let's get on with the more important things, Lizzie. You know, let's talk about your maths homework rather than about which scarf you're going to wear on your head tomorrow. When I was little, that really helped. And I think just helping me be resilient when someone did try and pick on me, saying, well, okay, so what are you going to do then? Because, you know, standing up to bullies is a good thing to do. So, you know, do you think you're going to stand up to him tomorrow if he says it again? Yeah. And I did, and that was it. The bullying never happened again. So I think, you know, that opportunity to teach wider life skills is quite an important one, and you almost using alopecia as a tool to help teach wider life skills. The other thing that really helped me as a little girl, and then as a teenager, because obviously the teenage years are where it can be quite difficult. Mum used to take the opportunity to make trips to go to buy new wigs into a sort of girly day out. So we would go to a sort of a better wig shop that was a bit further afield, and it would be just me and Mum shopping day. Go and try on lots of wigs, and if I'd gone for a different colour or style, that was always a good excuse to go and you know, maybe buy a new top in a colour that went with the new hair, or buy some new makeup. So she turned it into a really positive thing that we did every so often, which was good. And when I was very small, when I was 6, when I first lost my hair, she was thoughtful about the kind of clothes that she put me in. So she didn't try putting me in pretty little dresses with a bald head. She sort of helped me, I suppose, style it out, for want of a better word, you know, funky dungarees and that sort of thing. So she kind of worked with it, not against it, when I was younger. I didn't start wearing wigs until I was about 10 or so, just before I went up to secondary school. What else helped? Yeah, when I was a teenager, so when I went to secondary school, it was a school where there was almost nobody from my primary school. There were only 3 of us, I think, in my year who had gone to this particular secondary school. So most of the year of, I think, about 90 kids in my year, I didn't know them. So I'd been thinking beforehand, right, okay, how am I going to handle this? Because, you know, this is secondary school, there's going to be showers after games, and, you know, as soon as one kid knows, you know, the whispers start and stuff. And I didn't want there to be that sort of, you know, gossiping behind hands, oh, did you know? So what I agreed with Mum and Dad was that we would tell my form teacher beforehand, and that she would sort of tell my class, if you like. And then I just, so that happened, and that went fine. And then I decided later that same day, which was the first day at secondary school, we had the first games session, and there was the games teacher telling us how you must have showers after games, and, you know, I'll be coming to check, and all sorts of stuff that sounds really dodgy now, actually. So she asked if there were any questions, and I stuck my little hand up and said, Miss, can I just tell everybody, please, that my hair's a wig and I'll be taking it off to have showers, and I don't want anyone to be startled the first time I do that. And that, you know, well done, brave 11-year-old Lizzie. I'm still quite proud of my 11-year-old self, but that did make the world of difference, actually, just tackling it up front. Nobody ever gossiped, nobody ever picked on me after that at secondary school, because they were like, okay, she just told us on the first day, right, fine, she's got alopecia. And you know, as I keep saying, it wasn't the most interesting thing about me. So I think that really helped, and that does take some some bravery. I won't pretend it was the easiest thing I ever did. It certainly wasn't. But feeling supported by my parents and by my form teacher to do that, that sort of short gritting my teeth and doing something difficult really paid off. So I think, coming back to the question of how kids can be supported, I think encouraging them to think about how they are going to talk to people about it, and how accepting something that's difficult short term might make things a lot easier for them long term. Again, it's all part of building their resilience and their character. Okay, final question. This one says optional on it, which is very sweet of Alopecia UK, but I've got no trouble answering this one. At what stage did you tell your partner about wearing a wig? So this is one that comes up a lot, isn't it? When I've written blogs, this tends to come up quite often. I've tended to follow the same pattern every time there was a new boyfriend involved, which is me. It's a long time ago now. I've been married a long time. But given I lost my hair at 6 and, you know, got married at 24, there were a number of boyfriends in between. So I tended to always follow the same pattern, which was I tended to wait until it was obvious that you fancied me, because I've always had a little bit of a sort of fear of making the first move, fear of having misread the signs and sort of making a fool of myself. So I've always tended to, you know, wait, okay, I can see where this is going. He's definitely keen. And to be honest, I've tended to wait past the first kiss, have that first little kiss, like, right, I know for sure I haven't misread the signs. But then before things get a little bit more passionate and the hand goes around the back of the head or anything, before then I tend to go, oh, by the way, something I ought to tell you, my hair's not real, and then carry on. And in the heat of the moment, boys don't care, frankly. So I generally found with partners that they're, you know, unless someone has a hair fetish, in which case, okay, that might be a different conversation. I've generally found that most partners weren't really that bothered. Maybe I've just been lucky, but I've never had any trouble with a partner being put off by that, or thinking that I should have told them sooner or anything like that. It's never been an issue. So yes, I've tended to wait for the first kiss so that I know I haven't misread the signals, and then just make it almost a, oh, by the way, something I should mention, my hair's not real, I wear a wig. Right, where were we? And that's always worked for me. So I hope that helps anyone who's a bit nervous about it. And as with all these things, sometimes just, you know, making it come across as less of a big deal than maybe it feels to you inside can really help, because that helps the other person treat it as not really a big deal either. And then you can just move on with all of the interesting stuff that you have to talk about and the second kiss. Okay, thank you very much.